Hello, my name is Kate Freihout, and I'm here to talk to you today about how you can harness the science of persuasion to motivate others to support your ideas, making you more successful in both your personal and professional life. Raise your hand if you've ever met somebody who blew you away with their persuasive powers and charisma. Yeah, pretty much everyone. We've all met someone with that certain je ne sais quoi, an X factor, that indescribable set of qualities that allows them to captivate an audience and persuade even the strongest holdouts. Unfortunately, most people don't possess these qualities, and getting things done through others is a struggle that's painfully familiar to even the most successful corporate executives. However, persuading others doesn't have to be a complex set of mental gymnastics. While we might not all be born possessing these skills, I'm here to tell you that persuading others actually boils down to a simple science that appeals to a limited set of deeply rooted human drives and needs, and does so in a way that is both predictable and easy to replicate. So today I'm going to explain the 6 principles of persuasion and how you can apply them in your own life to be more successful both professionally and personally. The first principle is that of liking. People like those who like them. By uncovering real similarities and offering genuine praise, you can increase the likelihood of getting support from others. So what does this mean for you? Well, if you want to influence people, you need to win friends. And there are 2 factors that are proven to help you do that. The first is similarities. Similarities draw people together. In fact, a 1968 experiment found that participants stood physically closer to one another after finding out that they shared similar political and social views. And praise, well, that charms and disarms. Another experiment conducted in 1978 found that praise is extremely effective in motivating others. And in fact, that praise doesn't even have to be earned. They actually found that the men liked people more who praised them, even if those comments were untrue. So by combining praise and similarity, you can get people to increase their liking of you and make yourself more successful. Now, the second principle is that of reciprocity. So people are programmed to repay in kind. And what this means is that you can give what you want to receive and program others to do the same. So a good example of reciprocity is charities. Now, charities rely on reciprocity in order to get funds. And a study found that funds actually increased when the charities included a small gift in their fundraising letters. In fact, donations actually doubled. Now, even though this gift was something simple like personalized address labels, it made all of the difference to those prospective donors. And while gift giving may be one of the more basic forms of reciprocity, this same principle can be applied when you consider giving favors to someone in the workplace. By demonstrating a giving nature, you actually make it more likely that your coworkers will display the same behavior. Now, the third behavior is social proof. People follow the lead of similar others, and by tactically using available peer power, you can get added support, especially in times of resistance. Think of the examples of testimonials. Testimonials are most effective when the participant who is considering the product and the satisfied customer share a similar set of circumstances. So if you think of the real-world application for this, perhaps you are working for a company and you're attempting to streamline business processes. However, you're getting some pushback from some of the veterans in the company. Well, you can use the principle of social proof to your advantage by asking an old-timer who maybe already supports your idea to speak up for it in the next meeting. This person's testimonial is far more likely to have an impact and convince the others than yours would, and can get you the support that you're looking for. The fourth principle is that of consistency. People will align with their clear commitments. And by making these commitments active, public, and voluntary, you greatly increase the likelihood that they will follow through. So people need to not only like you, they actually need to feel committed to what you want them to do. So you can make these commitments active by having them spoken out loud or written down. people are far more likely to follow through on something than the same commitment left unspoken. And additional research shows that these same written or spoken commitments become increasingly powerful when they are made public. So how can you use this in your life? Well, think of an example of a coworker who consistently submits late reports. Well, after you convince him of the need to be more timely, you can reinforce his new commitment by making sure that it gets a public airing. So you can maybe a simple email that reinforces what you spoke about and the new plan that he sends out to you and a few key other players will make all the difference in actually getting him to follow through. Now, the third element to consistency that must be considered is that commitment actually has to be voluntary. A quote by Samuel Butler perfectly illustrates the importance of this. He said, "He who complies against his will is of his own opinion still. An understanding that is gained through force or coercion is not a commitment. It is an unwelcome burden and can actually lead to backlash." So what this means for you is that you need to avoid threats or scare tactics in order to get compliance, but instead try to identify an approach that actually focuses on something that the person truly values. The fifth principle is authority. People will defer to experts as valuable and efficient shortcuts to good decisions. So it's also important when you're thinking about authority to expose your expertise instead of just assuming that it's self-evident. Now, a lot of people mistakenly assume that others appreciate and recognize their experience and are then somehow confused when it doesn't get them the result they wanted. Managers need to take a special pains to expose their expertise and establish it before they attempt to exert any type of influence. A real-world example of this principle of authority is a physical therapist who was struggling to get her patients to comply with their exercise routines. Now, simply by displaying the awards, certifications, and diplomas of her staff on the therapy room walls, exercise compliance jumped by 34% and hasn't dropped since. People will value the opinions of those they think are credible, and you can use this to your advantage. Now, the final principle is that of scarcity. Simply put, people want more of what they can have less of, and you can use this to your advantage by highlighting the unique benefits, strategically employing loss language, and using exclusivity to your advantage. Now, consider framing things in terms of a closing window of opportunity. If people believe that opportunities are less available, they will perceive them as more valuable. Additionally, consider framing things not in terms of what someone stands to gain, but what they stand to lose. This is called loss language, and it has been proven to weigh more heavily in decision-making than potential benefits. And finally, exclusive information is far more persuasive than information that is widely available. In fact, if you come across some information that isn't yet broadly available, but somehow supports your ideas, you can use this to your advantage by gathering up key players and using the principle of exclusivity. Now, even if this information is relatively dull, that exclusive nature will give it that extra sparkle. Now, it's also important that I note here that it's never okay to deceive your coworkers into compliance. These types of offers should only be made if they are genuine, because if the deception is detected by others, it will snuff out any potential enthusiasm that your original offer kindled. Okay, so that was a lot of information. 6 principles of persuasion, strategic implementation, real-world examples. What are you supposed to do with this information going forward? Well, I've simplified it all into a basic framework that focuses on the definition of each principle and how you can now apply it in the future. Liking. People like those who like them. Uncover real similarities and offer genuine praise. Reciprocity. People repay in kind. Give what you want to receive. Social proof. People follow the lead of similar others. Use peer power whenever it's available. Consistency. People will align with their clear commitments. Make sure their commitments are active, voluntary and public. Authority. People will defer to credible experts. Expose your expertise. Don't assume that it's self-evident. And finally, scarcity. People want more of what they can have less of. So highlight the unique benefits and exclusivity, as well as what the person stands to lose. So by harnessing the science of persuasion through the principles of liking, reciprocity, social proof, consistency, authority, and scarcity, you can all become effective persuaders and get the support that you need for your future endeavors. Thank you.
So as we've done before, tell us what you were intending to work on.
Okay, so I guess the feedback that that really struck me when we first did our speech was the fact that my point was not conveyed to the audience at all, and that they didn't really take away anything that they needed to remember. And so I kind of touched on that a little bit in my paper. Basically, I'd never really, I'd always just assumed that everyone in the audience wanted to hear the information that I had, and they were going to listen, and I never even thought that maybe they would just stop listening and that it wasn't worthwhile. So I really wanted to take that perspective of how I could try to keep everything as interesting and relevant as possible to really communicate the value side of the VDEC. And in my presentation, as you can see, I had a lot of information that I had to get through. So that was sort of like a real challenge in presenting that information without, when you've got 3 principles or 4 maybe, but 6, it's like, okay, well at 3, everyone's ready to be done. So I wanted to try to keep, by giving real world examples with each experience, to keep everybody interested. And then I wanted everyone to walk away with the most essential elements, which is why I broke it down into that last part again, because by the time you get through all that information, you're sort of like, well, what did we talk about, 7 minutes ago, because it was so dense. So the value side was really what I focused on. And then also vocal modulation, because I was really flat in almost all my speeches, and hopefully it came across a little better this time. So those were my things.
Great. Thanks, Kate.
Yep.
Feedback, Kate. Focus on effective. What worked?
Yeah.
Great eye contact.
Thank you. Yeah.
Je ne sais quoi. And people want more what they can only have less of. I'm taking that.
Yeah.
That is perfect.
Yep.
That is absolutely fantastic.
Thank you.
I was amazed that you were able to convey so much content in such a seamless manner. I mean, that was really a lot of information you packed in there. So the fact that you were able to, do it without stuttering or recalling, and you still focus on your voice and all that was amazing.
Thank you. I think you guys saw a little bit that I was like, anytime they would move me, I was like, oh God, don't think about moving, because otherwise you're going to lose everything you're saying. Go.
I liked a lot as well, the amount of information you were able to provide,
Mm-hmm.
and also especially the slides
Mm-hmm.
were kind of neat and compelling to the information you were usually providing.
Thank you.
I think the last slide was very effective, because by the time you had come to the 6th, I had forgotten what the other
Yep.
two were. And I'm amazed at your ability to remember so much. So I wish you not taking the notes so that I don't have to.
Well, I had to, because all of my feedback from you guys, all you guys said was don't look at your notes and make eye contact. So I knew if I had the notes that I would have the same problem at the end. So, so I took it to the next level.